Got it.
Okay, good evening, tournament directors, association leaders. Thank you so much for being on. We would know that you're taking time out of your busy schedule. We appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday evening to learn more about this awesome platform, RegisterPlay, to better acquaint you with it so you can make a decision if you would like to utilize it for your tournaments. The MYAS is excited to move forward starting in October, that all of our basketball programming will move to RegisterPlay. And I think you will see the benefits on how awesome it would be if we could all connect as an MYBA, Minnesota Youth Basketball Alliance, together with all the data. This is something that was a big reason why the Alliance was created, is to have concise results and bring all the associations together within Minnesota Youth Basketball, where the data can easily be in one ecosystem. And we hope to get there with the previous platform, but we never could. And we have been fortunate to team up with RegisterPlay. So I'll introduce myself, introduce the other individuals that you'll be hearing from tonight. My name is Dawson Blank. I see some names on here that I know, but if I have never met you, hello and welcome to the Minnesota Youth Basketball Alliance. As a tournament director or association leader, I've been at MYAS since 1999, and I've been executive director for the past 4 years. Jeremy Innes is somebody you'll hear a lot from tonight. He is associate director at MYAS, and he is in charge of the operations of mainly baseball, basketball, but he has spent a lot of time within the development side of the Minnesota Youth Basketball Alliance. And then you get to hear from one of our partners at MYAS, Dan Pfeffer. He runs Minnesota Softball, and he was an early adopter of RegisterPlay, so he will be able to share insights, provide better understanding, details on the system, and why it has exploded within Minnesota softball and become part of their everyday administration for not only Minnesota softball, but for the overwhelming majority of the associations that are underneath their association. So with that being said, some housekeeping items. If you could, please feel free to put stuff inside the chat. If we get to it tonight, that'll be great. And hopefully we can, as we move through this, that we can get some questions answered. But if we do not answer it, we will make sure that it does get answered. If not tonight, tomorrow, as we send details from the meeting and we get more information out to you. So with that being said, thanks for being here again tonight, and for all you do inside your association. If it's your first year of your term, or if it's your 15th year of your term, thank you so much for being a part of Minnesota Youth Basketball. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy Innes, and he can get this thing started. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Doss, and thanks everybody for being on tonight. Really appreciate you taking time to be with us. To start here, I'm just going to reiterate some of the things that I mentioned in Wednesday night's meeting about RegisterPlay, why we're moving over to it, and what some of the benefits are. The first thing that I'll say is, by no means is it mandatory that your association move over to RegisterPlay. With that being said, it's something that we are, encouraging everybody to do, and we're also confident that, once you learn more about it, play around in there a little bit, that you'll see the benefits and want to utilize it. Dawson mentioned, a lot of stuff about the data, and with our game results index, the MYBA GRI, a definite benefit of using RegisterPlay is that all of that data in your tournament will automatically flow into the game results index. So the coaches no longer need to post tournament, go in there and get their scores updated, take the time to do that. and doing it after the event too, it allows some, opportunities to make mistakes or maybe select the wrong team. But not only will it make it easier for the coaches if the tournament they're participating in is using RegisterPlay, it'll also make it a lot more accurate as well, since it's just pulling that data from the system. So as I mentioned, the data is a very nice thing, but also one of the other big reasons we're moving over to RegisterPlay is just because of the tools that platform has, and the ability to eliminate multiple platforms. And an example of that, so now, since the MYBA portal is ran through RegisterPlay, once you get your account created, your membership renewed, you can go in there and post your tournament. And most of the associations that are joining, the first thing they're doing is getting that tournament posted in there, and so they can start advertising and promoting. But another nice feature with that event listing is that you can actually attach registration right to it. So no longer do you need to have your tournament listing through the MYBA portal, take registrations through a different site, and then possibly even have a third step in there where you've got to export those teams and dump them into a different platform. You can handle all of that right through RegisterPlay. So once you get your membership renewed and you get your events created, you have the option of accepting registrations or not. And you can select, I believe Dan's going to go into this in a little more detail, but you can select credit card payment or check payment, whatever you'd like to do. And then beyond that, once you close off registration, you can get those brackets created right there. So that was a big thing that we were looking at is wanting to make it easier for people, reducing the amount of platforms that they've got to have remember passwords to, exporting from this site and importing into this site. RegisterPlay takes care of all of that, and it's kind of a one-stop shop for everybody. So
yeah, just really quick with that, I think one, we all know that you guys utilize your content management system. Most of you, that Sport Engine is what you utilize. And so when we're talking RegisterPlay, that doesn't mean that side of it, because MYAS moved to Sport Engine as well. So the content management side of your association website, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about everything else related to your registration, your tournament brackets, your scheduling, the administrative side, the data, all that would be very streamlined through RegisterPlay. And then the second thing, as Jeremy's mentioning with the registration, we saw through our baseball programming this spring that our tournaments were up and listed through RegisterPlay along with the other association tournaments, that they didn't have the option this spring to utilize the registration piece. Our spring baseball tournaments, the registrations went up because of the ease of being able to go in and register quickly through RegisterPlay, instead of needing to possibly print out a hard copy, fill it out, send it in, or go through another system to do it. It made it very streamlined, and the process was very efficient. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
No, that's all good. Thanks for bringing that part up. And along with that tournament index too, if as a tournament director, I'd encourage you guys and gals to promote that you are going to use RegisterPlay to do your brackets. Because if I was a coach looking, maybe my association picks my first 7 tournaments and I get to pick 2. And if I see, hey, this tournament's using RegisterPlay, and that means I don't have to go in post-event and get those scores updated, there's a good chance I'm going to pick that tournament. And the last thing before I switch it over to Dan that I'll mention is, I know a handful of years ago when we partnered up with Tourney Machine. As I mentioned in Wednesday's meeting, we are no longer supporting the MYBA umbrella account through Tourney Machine. Just with moving over here and not having to manage too many platforms and the obvious benefits of RegisterPlay, we're no longer supporting the Tourney Machine platform. But just like when we promoted Tourney Machine, you know, a lot of you trusted us to move over to that platform. You might have been using something else prior to that. I want to encourage you to please give us that same amount of trust as we move into RegisterPlay. We will do everything to ensure that your tournament goes off without a hitch. MYS staff is available for help. Dan's even offered to provide some support too. And then the support with RegisterPlay is very, very responsive. So you're in good hands. Please trust us as we move through this. I'll get to the first question in the chat here. The cost of RegisterPlay versus Tourney Machine. For our users, it's going to be $4 per team to use RegisterPlay. As an MYBA member, you get the reduced rate of $4 per team. None of that comes back to MYS, comes back to MYBA. We wanted to keep that price as low as possible for the association. So that's what we're able to get, is that $4 per team. The standard rate of Tourney Machine, I believe, is anywhere from $4 to $7 per team. So pretty comparable. As Dan is motioning, it might even be more than that now. So we're right in line with what we know of the other platforms.
And to note, the last 3-4 years that Tourney Machine was an option underneath MYBA, we talked with them on the ability to have a volume and get the MYBA associations underneath one bracketing platform. And that's how we were able to talk it down to $2. That no longer exists because we don't have an affiliation with Tourney Machine. So as Jeremy said, it's between $4 to $7 per team if you independently go and work with Tourney Machine.
Yeah, the question, it was actually per team for Tourney Machine, not per game. The fee structure, just like it is with RegisterPlay. All right, so with that, I will turn it over to Dan. Really appreciate Dan for being on this call. He's very knowledgeable with the platform, and he's coached us along through it as well. Along with Dan, RegisterPlay has great help guide videos and resources on their site to help people walk through the process. So we're here to help, and there's a lot of tools in place to help you out. So with that, I will turn it over to Dan.
Well, thanks, Jeremy and Dawson. And I wanted to say, you guys are lucky. What are you paying per team?
4.
4? Yeah, we're paying 10. But we've been on the platform for 4 years. Maybe you guys will get to pay more later. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, it's the best $10 I've ever spent, because I spend a lot less time here at the palatial state office of Minnesota softball. So the other thing is, Jeremy, before I get into all this, if we have time at the end, you want me to show them where those videos are at, or like team rankings, you know, all the sexy stuff, or do they know all about all that?
If we've got time, that would be great. I do have it linked up on the MYBA webpage on our myas.org site. There are some buttons that bring people directly to the help guides and also with the rankings pages. But yeah, if we've got time to show those, that'd be great.
Okay, so my name is Dan Pfeffer. I'm the state commissioner for USA Softball and Minnesota Softball. And we're super proud to be partnered with MYAS and offering community-based athletics. So recently, MYAS has got onto the technology platform, RegisterPlay, and we've been on it since 2020. So this is our 4th year. And if you want to stop and ask questions during, want me to stop and show you something or provide finer details, let me know. I'm super cool with that. My wife, my kids, and my grandkids interrupt me all the time, so no problem. Just fire away in the chat or raise your hand. And Jeremy, maybe you could interrupt me and let me know that there's a question. Okay. So like I said, we've been with RegisterPlay since the summer of 2020. Annually, we have around 2,200 teams registered and playing fast pitch throughout the state, from 8U to 18U, and that includes Western Wisconsin. We have around 1,500 teams competing in our summer and fall state tournaments. So we're big, but we're not MYAS big. This weekend, we have 20 invitational tournaments and they're finishing up right now. In fact, there's one about 2 miles to the east of me at Wayzata High School where they're finishing up right now. So we got to the point where I was sitting here at the office for like 12 hours a day trying to manage registrations, collecting fees, doing scheduling and rostering. And we knew there was a better way. And if you directors were on this call the other night, you've heard this, I'll make it short. But our customers demanded far more from us. We created I wrote my own roster website with brackets with the help of a buddy, but it just wasn't enough. It wasn't doing enough. Our customers wanted more because they wanted to see our invitational tournaments, our states and our nationals seated more properly or appropriately or as close as you can get it. And nothing's perfect, but this helped us get a lot closer. So we were sending data back and forth between websites and wasting a lot of time. And we basically had to find a better way. All we ever were really doing is just working a lot of hours to make this all happen. So when we converted to RegisterPlay, we figured out that we were going to divide up the work. And by that, I mean like crowdsourcing. So if you think about that, tournament directors create tournaments and then they enter scores and then they calculate final standings. And then they go home and they don't ever have to run a tournament until the next fall or winter. And then coaches create teams, they invite players and enter tournaments, and parents create the players and accept the team invitations on behalf of the children. So this site and this website and this app will give you, your teams and your customers a one-stop resource for all of MYAS basketball. So what a couple of people have said about us is Tim Lyons, the Wayzata softball director, said, "How much do you charge for this service? Because I'm as happy as a pig in slop to get help with this setup. We will gladly donate to your cause." And then I just got another quote from a guy that runs Tier 1 Fast Pitch in North Carolina, and he kind of echoed the same sentiments. He's like, "Are you guys just always online? Do you sleep?" So when you're running tournaments, if it isn't MYAS getting you support, you can always reach out to me. You can reach out to RegisterPlay, and we'd be happy to jump in and teach you how to fish or help you get through your problems. And we'd be happy to fix anything that might come up. So, and you might discover a bug or something, and we want to know about that. So, and like I said, we're online all day, all night, all weekend. Maybe not all night. We do sleep sometimes, but well, let's just jump into this and I'll try and share my screen. All right, can you guys see that? Okay, so I created a mythical tournament called the Edina MYBA Classic. Edina because I love Edina, and Osseo Maple Grove because I live in Maple Grove. All right, so hopefully no one's too offended already. Here we go. By the way, when Edina plays Maple Grove in hockey, it's called the Battle for all the Lululemon. Okay, feel free to laugh out loud. All right, so here's the public view, and this is what your customers are going to see. And in this case, we've created a flyer that you can do too, and I'll show you how to do that. We've posted it on here, and we've got the pools games, and then we've got the scoreboard. Nothing showing up there because it's occurred probably in the past here somewhere. Instead of mining for that, I'll show you that later. But here we've got all of the standings for this tournament, and I have 32 teams, and I'll create an 8-teamer so that you can kind of get an appreciation for this. I created this 32-team super tournament because I wanted you to see some different variations in some schedules. So under Pool A, we've got some standings here. The teams have a logo. There's a name that links to their roster. So all their games played, every tournament they've been in, every player on their team. And then administrative level, you can see staffing for the team. The number next to it in parentheses is the rank of the team, according to the website. So Miami, Ohio is the #1 ranked team in Ohio. It doesn't mean they're the #1 ranked team in the system, because that wouldn't hold true, because look at San Diego State. Below that is their schedule, or the pool schedule, and where they've been playing, and the results. And if you want to, if this were a blank score, it would say enter score. You could do that by clicking this and entering the score and save. You could, as a tournament director, you could update it if you wanted. And that'll go off and it'll save. If we go, let me see here. If we go dig in a little bit on, we corrected a score. So let's go down to the bottom. Well, better yet, let me show you some. I'm going to show you that later. Okay. So here's some different types of brackets. So for the gold bracket, I created an 8-team single elim bracket. So it's seeded 1 through 8, 1 and 8, 4 and 5, 3 and 6, 2 and 7. So that's single elim. Here I created a double elim, and I doubt you'd ever use that. That seems to be just a slow pitch or a fast pitch thing, but there's that type of bracket. I created a 2-game guarantee bracket. And I'm sure you've seen all this through Tourney Machine, but just to give you an idea, we probably have 10 different types of brackets. And then here we created an 8-team MYBL bracket. I'm guessing it's some sort of 2-game guarantee, right, guys? Yeah. Okay, so it looks like we're chopping up the top 4 and putting them in a 2-game guarantee with the 3rd place game. And then we're chopping up the bottom 4 and putting them in the same situation, and then clarifying their places afterwards. And then we've got some facilities here at the bottom. These things, of course, all link to directions so that your parents can find the place. So if we go back to, it looks like if we dug in on that, we would see that all the scores are entered. So I'm going to go into the schedule tab now, and I'm going to go, well, I'll show you this first of all. The site runs a conflict checker. So I'm going to click on that. And for once, I got a conflict less tournament. It will check to see that teams don't have games at the same time. It will check to see if there's start time dependence. So does game A need to occur before game B? If the winner is required in this game and this game is scheduled before the original game, then this thing will warn you, you do not want to do that, because you're going to end up with a lot of angry parents. Hopefully you have a lot of food at the concession stand to figure that one out. And then we have field conflicts, which would be, are you double booking a court? Or are you double booking ice? Or are you double booking a field? And then deleted references would refer to something where you deleted a team or you deleted a game and you shouldn't have done that. And it's going to warn you that that's going to have to go back in there. Otherwise, you may have problems down the road. All right, so we'll dig in on the schedule here. And well, we'll show you the results and scores. So they've all been entered. We cycle through all this. That all looks good. I'm going to go to pool standings and show you a couple of different things that are going on in here. Here we had a tie. I don't know if basketball has ties or not. We get them all the time in fast pitch, where the 10Us like to walk a lot of people and get 5 runs per inning and play 3 innings, and you get a 15-15 tie. It happens all the time. So if you have ties, the site can resolve that. If you have ties in the pool, meaning teams are 2-1, the site will also resolve that for you through head-to-head, first of all, and then it'll break down points for and points against, or differential, or I think it's points against first. Try not to encourage people to run up scores. In fact, here's the pool tiebreakers. That'd be good to read ahead. Okay. So that's that. Now, I showed you the public view, and I showed you the brackets, and there's nothing in there yet. So I'm going to go back to schedule, and I'm going to click on the most important buttons of the presentation, which are the green and blue buttons. So green calculates pool standings for all pools, and blue lock results and push teams to all brackets. So if we're satisfied that the scores are entered correctly, we calculate and we push and we go to public view. And if it will load, sometimes you have to just click from tab to tab. There you go. So what the site does for you automatically is it moves pool play down to the bottom because it's Saturday night. We've finished off pool play. Let's prop up all of the brackets to the top so parents aren't sitting on their phones scrolling down through everything. Don't do that anymore. Everything goes up to the top. So here's that gold bracket. Here's that double a limb bracket. Here's that 2-game guarantee bracket. And then here is the MYBL bracket. Some kind of interesting features here. Oh, if you're scoring games, here's how you do it. The best way to do it, the best way to score games is go to public view and click on the game number. And when you click 27, 20, should we let Stanford win? We'll let them win. All right. Once you click that, it should advance Stanford and drop UNC Greensboro, and it's done that. Also, we have a identify button, and that's information about the teams and their matchup. This is quickly becoming the most popular tool that we have on the site, not so much by administrators, but by curious parents who need to understand that their daughters and sons are going to be able to handle the next game that they're entered. So kind of some cool stuff. We stole this from CBS Sports on an NCAA bracket. And I said, hey, that's kind of cool. Couldn't we build that? And they said, sure. And for the slow pitch cretins, we even added point spreads, but we won't put point spreads on little girls and boys basketball games. So, all right. So that's that.
Hey,
Hey,
Dan,
Seth,
one thing
before
real
you
quick.
Yep. I've got something too.
Regarding scoring. The association, the leaders, they'll be able to give certain users just scoring permissions, correct? So they don't have full access to screw up anything with the event. It'll be just some scoring permissions.
So here's the staff area, and I clicked staff invitation over here, and I can give an email address as long as they're members of the system, easy access to it. So we entered Dawson@mys.org, and I can give him full access, which means that he can pretty much do anything inside of the tournament. Like he could reschedule games. Let's say, I remember a couple of years ago, the Maple Grove gym flooded. I guess, I don't think you guys get much cancellations because you're indoors, but if you ever need to do that, he could move games around, or if you needed to do something like a reschedule, you could do that. He gets all access there. If you've got an ambitious son or daughter with an iPhone, you give them partial access and say, look, you're in charge of entering all the scores and just that access. And then you invite, and the owner. So when someone creates an invitational tournament, they'll have full ownership of the tournament, but they'll also be able to assign staff on site to be able to handle these things. Does that make sense? All right, Dawson, you're invited.
Yeah, I have one as well. So why don't you talk about, either you or Jeremy, talk about where the teams would come from once all the MYBA leaders, when they register for the membership and they start to input the rosters and properly identify the teams, where are the teams going to be able to be selected from?
So under the teams tab, you can go in here and you can add teams. And it takes a while when it's 64 teams. It probably wasn't the brightest idea of mine to have a 64 teamer, but there you go. There's 64 teams. We're kind of jumping ahead, but it's a good question. But we can always manually add teams. So let's say Edina wants to add their own teams. We just search on Edina. I don't know if anything is going to come up. Nothing will come up, but all the Edina teams typically would show up. They probably aren't going to pay for their own tournament, right? So they can manually add the teams and then mark them as fully paid, or other, signifying that they're entered, they're paid, we're good with them. The other thing is, people, like, typically our association gets a lot of checks from associations for entries. So we just quick hit check, and then under comments, we'll enter check number 345 and hit tab, and then it saves it. You see the green notification there. Team comments would be something like if Alabama entered the Edina tournament here and they said, need late Saturday start when they enter. You know, that's going to appear in there for the tournament director. No one else is going to see that. But as a team enters, they have the ability to enter some comments like, hey, can we start Saturday at 8 a.m. said no one ever. So that's how that works. Did I answer that for you?
Jeremy, why don't you add
Yeah.
on to it?
And then also, so say Osseo Maple Grove, they renew their membership. They get all their teams for the upcoming season loaded into their portal. They can then take those teams that they've created and register them directly into Edina's tournament. So that way, that really helps keeping those team accounts static, and then the system knows that, you know, this Osseo Maple Grove team that played in Edina's tournaments is the same team that played in Rogers' tournament. So when it's compiling all that data, it'll all be attached to the same team.
Yeah, the site will keep that all that straight, right? Unless you have, there will be periods, or there will be people that will go and create more teams, more Osseo Maple Grove teams. And it's just up to the association to figure out that, hey, that's not, we get it all the time in fast pitch where Dover Iota has like 18 teams. Well, we know better than that. We know Dover Iota doesn't have 18 teams. They have like 8. But it's a parent that's gone off and created a team and entered another tournament for them. So then I have to reconcile that, but it's all easily done through the system. We can figure out what's what. The cool thing about this is you guys have clubs for everyone, or they're called associations.
Yeah.
Associations, yep.
So what the directors could do is they could cut the coaches loose by assigning them as the coach of the team. And that coach can go through the inventory of all the tournaments on your index and enter the tournaments and say, I'll pay later. But the director of the club or the association can go down the list, whip out the credit card, and just start paying for every single tournament that coach entered. So you get rid of the responsibility of the coaches having to pay for tournaments if you want. And, you know, I don't know what goes on in basketball, but we've had an epidemic with some treasurers going absolutely bananas on association money. I mean, Bloomington fast pitch, Shakopee fast pitch, Byron fast pitch, Prescott, I could go on, where these treasurers go and spend all their money. And now they're still sitting in court waiting to figure out how they can squeeze blood out of a turnip. They're never going to get that money back, but they feel like they're obligated to try. It was so bad for Bloomington, they started over with $0. And I don't mean to make them light of them. I'm just telling you, the less people touching the cash, the better off you are. And by all means, have 2 people watching this stuff in your associations. It's a good word of warning. So
yeah, that's a very good PSA. As far as basketball goes, typically what happens is, from what I understand, with most of the associations, there's one person that signs up their teams for, you know, each of the other tournaments that they're participating in for the most part. So as Dan mentioned, there are some options within the platform that, you know, allowing a check payment basically allows a team to get registered for your event and then track down the payment later. If you don't allow check payment and just credit card payment, it won't allow somebody to register for your tournament without providing a credit card payment. So there's some different options in there. Matt asked a question in the chat that I want to get to quick. Their Osseo Maple Grove tournament is early in the season. And, you know, when teams get registered or are typically registering for that tournament, they might not have their rosters completed yet or tryouts completed. In that situation, to find a solution for that, what I would recommend is that, you know, most likely your association is going to know how many teams you're going to have. You might not know exactly who's coaching the team or the players that are going to be on each team. But if you know you're going to have 3 teams in 4th grade, Get those loaded into your portal as soon as you can, and get them registered for people's tournaments that way. As Dan mentioned before too, there's manual ways that tournament director can search for teams and add teams as well. So I'm confident that we can get through those early season tournaments. Like I said, I would encourage association leaders to get your teams loaded into the MYBA portal as soon as you can. You can do attach the coaches and the rosters later, and you can go from there.
I think the point too to that is that, to Matt's question, is that we have staff at MYS, we have Dan Pfeffer, we have RegisterPlay developers that can all scrub, as Dan talked about, to make sure if there is duplicates that we can get rid of those duplicates before the season begins or as the season's beginning too. To Jen's question really quick. Yeah, Jen, that's right, that you're going to put it into the MYBA portal, which previously was not living in the same system as what we were pushing people towards with the tournament bracketing platform. But now the MYBA portal lives in RegisterPlay. So it makes it easier for the teams to be able to be selected, to be able to work with within the RegisterPlay if the tournaments invitationals take advantage of RegisterPlay. Jeremy, you want to answer Lisa's question? Hi, Lisa.
Yeah, let's see.
Oh, I've got a suggestion on that if I could take it.
Go ahead.
Okay, so let's say we're going to go here into the overview area, and you know that this isn't a very complex tournament. There'd be a bunch of different divisions. This is just one big division. So let's say this was 12A or whatever. But if you get payment from, Osseo Maple Grove for 4 teams, you can just type a 4 under numbers of entries here. And what's going to happen is that's going to reduce the division limit by 4. So it goes from 60, we're at 64 right now. Now it's going to only allow for 60 spots because you've reserved 4 spots. Now you'll want to make a mental note or have an Excel file handy, or we could create something underneath here that would say, we noticed you have 4 teams that have side entered before their teams are created. We could create something in here where you could list out those teams just as a mental note so that you know that when they do enter, then you can reduce this number back down to 0. Does that make sense? You basically are taking a reservation.
The big thing is that.
Oh, go ahead.
I think the big thing is that all of us associations have to go out and just create the shell of a team based on what we think we're going to have for the year. Okay, yeah. That's the most important thing. And then worry about rostering players and adding coaches later.
Yeah, and I got to imagine it even happens, now with maybe numbers being a little bit higher than you expected as far as number of players per grade, or lower than you expected. And, there's that open communication with saying, hey, I registered 3 6th grade boys teams for your tournament. We've got a 4th, or we've only got 2, before the deadline, and navigating through that. So it wouldn't be, too much different just doing that right through RegisterPlay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Do they have to have the teams entered in order to register for a tournament? So as someone coming in and registering all the OMGBA tournament, or all the different tournaments OMGBA teams will be playing in, do the teams have to be created before they can register? So then they're just registering that team in those tournaments? Or can they just say, we're sending 10 teams to your tournament? In these
either
divisions?
way, either way, like Dan showed you how, if you reached out to an association or a tournament director and said, hey, we're sending X amount of teams in these divisions, then they could edit their number of entries per division and kind of do it a manual way. I guess that would be one option. The other option would be to just get your teams loaded into your portal. And as Lisa mentioned, it's just kind of a shell of a team. It doesn't have to have coaches attached or rosters, players attached to it yet. You know, you could have your OMGBA B5-1 team loaded in there and 5-2 and that sort of thing, just to get them entered into the tournament. And then later, once tryouts are completed and rosters are set, then you can go in and add those players to those teams.
Thanks.
Yeah, the fast pitch folks create dummy teams because they know based on registrations, if they've got 40 girls, they've got 4 teams. They'll probably create an A, 2 Bs and a C, or an A and a B and 2 Cs, and they'll just start entering tournaments. Then they'll go back and retroactively assign a coach to it. That coach will start chasing down parents for players. But that's how you get around it, is just, you know, based on registrations, kind of where you're going to be at for teams. At least I hope so. Okay.
Let me address Tony's really quick. I know you had answered it, but Tony, this is one of the big things that we're excited about, is the opportunity for associations, if they have tournaments going on, I would say December, January, February, once data is collected for teams, yes, it would be a great way to seed your tournaments efficiently and effectively, because you will have true data to be able to see how they've started their season, what their win-loss is, what their strength of schedule is. And that's why it's going to be so important for us to push the game results index that we got out late last year, but was still very effective, because ultimately we want that to be the basis for our seeding for grade state, but we also want that to be very impactful for the local associations when they're scheduling their tournaments too. All right, go ahead, Dan.
Okay, so we asked some seeding stuff. Let's just jump into that. So I created a new pool, and we should see a bunch of options for seeding here once the 64 teams load. Okay, so we'll just grab, you know, any 8 teams, and we'll go down here, and we can seed based on, let's go back up here so you can see it operate, but we can seed on name. So they're already alphabetical, that's fine. We can go random. You can just keep clicking until you get an order that you like. You can do class and division strength. So that's going to go and rank these teams based on this figure out here, division strength. You can do, that'd be division strength, excuse me. Class and division strength would be this one over here. Points, we've got a point system. I don't know that anyone's really using it. In fact, I don't think we have one for basketball, so that'd be pretty ineffective. Pool seed would be based, so this is when you've got a bunch of pools, 4 pools with 4 champions, and you want the 4 champions to have buys, or you want to make sure that 1s and the 1s aren't playing each other and 2s and 2s. You'd want to pool seed it. That's important. When you click, when you run any tournament, it'll warn you to do that. And then manual basically is, I just want to, let's see, I like this matchup and I want to move some stuff around. So that's how you get around. Those are the options for seeding. So now I'll just go ahead and create we're on a weekend event, and we're going to have 2 pools, and we're going to have 3 games, and we're going to click create pools. And it's grinding. I really should have just started an 8-team tournament, or just start over and create one. Okay, so it got through it. So here we've got now our pool separation. So if you said, look, I don't want California in this bracket, I'm going to put or this pool, I'm going to move them over there. You could run a 5-team pool and a 3-team pool. You do whatever you want. You can move them back and forth however you want. You can delete them and start over. You could go and add another pool and create a different scenario. Let's go create populate games just for the sake of getting through the exercise. So now it's showing you all the games. If you have odd numbers in pools, or you have a shortage of games, and you say that it's a 3-game guarantee, which we've indicated here, it's going to go and automatically give someone a fourth game so that the other team gets to 3. If you have a situation where both sides have a team missing 1 game to get to their 3-game guarantee, you can cross bracket or cross pool. So you could say that Arkansas is going from B is going to play California from A. That way that satisfies that 3-game guarantee in the pools. So let's just keep going down to create schedule. And let's confirm matchups. And now we're going to go to game setup, and we're going to use 2 fields, which should probably say courts. We'll fix that later. Are you guys 60 minutes?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay, I'll add a day. Let's go May 18th, whatever. You start at 8, end at 5, create schedule. And there you go. Now we can assign fields. So you guys are probably pretty used to this because you might give it to a basketball official assigner. You know, courts along the top, times along the side, fill in the cell with the games. Let's go. You can assign the courts here. So we'll put this at North Gym, and we'll put the other people at Maple Grove Court 3, whatever. The other thing you can do is, if you don't like this schedule, you can also do things like I do, where I'd probably, it's going to make driving a little bit nasty, but now if we're Campbell and we highlight that, Campbell is picking up the gray cells below it. So they play at 8, 10, and 12, and they're done for the day. And Cal is playing at 8, 10, and 12, and they're done for the day. So you have some flexibility in here to move things around. Usually this is a pretty good tactic because you trap them at your basketball or your basketball courts, your high school, and you sell every single last concession that you have. This is a tactic I use on all of my fast pitch events. There's an AM session, which runs from 8 a.m. to 1 o'clock. And then there's an afternoon session, and they can't leave the fields, and they have to eat all of our hot dogs and hamburgers. So kind of the point of you guys running an invitational tournament is to generate revenue for your association and then have a good time too. You can also change this back so that they're not traveling across country to get to these things. You can add fields. So if you want to add another court, you could then move teams around again. If you have, this is a system-wide database. So if Edina girls are running a tournament and Edina boys are running a tournament and they're separate events, this site will block courts from you. So if Edina girls scheduled first and they grabbed all the primo courts, you're not going to, it's going to warn you that they've gone and scheduled games on your courts, or they did it right and you're stuck, whatever the case is. But it's system wide. It will always check against every other database, every other tournament, every other system. And hopefully there's only one Edina high school in here. I've seen that happen before, but let's not get into that. And then I doubt you have any real reason for this, but you could say, oh, it looks like I've got a bunch of extra time at the end of the day. Instead of starting at 8, let me give my people a break and let's start at 11 a.m. or 10 a.m. So you can punch that in there, and all the teams subsequently go down 2 hours. You can say, oh, we're going to run 16-minute halves instead. So we're going to bump it up to 15 more minutes per game if you want to do that. I don't know what your rules are. I'm not telling you to go ahead and do that or change what the MYBL does. I'm just telling you that these features exist here. If you didn't have enough times, you could go and add a time slot below, and you can, you'd want to probably move that out later. You can click on that and approve it, or you can by manually changing it, or you can just say, no, we need to start this another 30 minutes later or whatever. And then it'll wipe that out. Okay, so after you're done with that, now you have a schedule that you could again start going and entering scores for all these things. If you misenter a score and something isn't propagating correctly, you can reset the game and that will wipe that score out. Be careful with that tool. It also might wipe out all the subsequent games that have occurred after that. We could enter all these we could go. So what you do next is, this is new pool. So we'd want to add a new round called new bracket. And now we're going to create where these teams are going to go after they have finished pool play. So now we're going through round teams and seeds, and we're going to pick the places from the pools to set up where they'll go to on the bracket. So we'd probably do it like a single elim, 8 teams. There's that warning when you select pool place, it's essential to appropriately seed placeholder teams. I'll explain that in a second better, but new pool, we're going to go and grab 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, if we did not pool seed it, this is the seeding order, 1 through 8. Well, we don't want pool B first place to be seeded 5th, right? So we pool seed it. And now it'll adjust for that. And pool B first place should play pool A 4th place. And it grinds. And maybe do you want me to show payments and stuff, like different types of payments, Jeremy, or? Because I feel like we've kind of beaten this thing up pretty good.
Yeah, if you could jump in there quick, that'd be good.
Oh, it didn't seed it right. Look at that. Oh, now it updated. Sorry. Jump the gun. Okay. So now we create a single limb. Oh, John, I think I know John. He's asking a question in the chat. Is there a way to color code games by division? Yeah, there's, for pools, they're color coded. And I'm going to confirm matchups. I'm just going to fire through this quick. And then again, here's your bracket based on that. First against 4th, A and B, etc.
For the basketball world, this would most likely directly apply to the 6-team divisions that we run, where we've got the pool A and B with 3 teams in each. And then, you know, most commonly we'd bring out the first place teams in each pool. They'd play for 1st and 2nd. 3rd place would play for, or the 2nd place teams in each pool for 3rd and 4th, and so on. But this is very similar. And one thing I want to add too, I know we're throwing a lot of stuff at you, but with the instruction just posted on the website, we've already got, I think, 16 associations that have completed their MYBA membership. We've got another, I think, maybe 8 tournaments that are listed on the tournament index. And some of them are accepting registrations. Some of them aren't. They were able to navigate through the site and, you know, with just kind of how the site prompts you to go from one step to another. And also with the, you know, very detailed video help guides that are available too. So, and like I said, no, we're throwing a lot at you. This will be available post a meeting online, and then also be able to utilize those help guides as well.
Yeah, and I can show you those real quick. Under help on the mys.registerplay.com, there's director videos here, and they're short, but they're sweet, and they cover creating an event, adding teams to an event, importing teams, event scheduling, changing times, shortening games, marking unavailable. We're constantly adding stuff to this, so this will probably get you through what you need to build a tournament, to operate the tournament. There's always the unforeseen. You might come up with something that we need to create. I've got a YouTube page that's got another 40 videos that are just short but sweet, like, hey, this is kind of, this is pretty busy here, this schedule page, and I need real estate. Like, here's a tournament that I had this weekend. And when you're scheduling, it gets pretty busy, but you need more real estate. What do? You click this and it gives you more real estate. Just stupid little tips like that, where people are like, oh, okay, that helps because I need more room because this schedule is gigantic and I don't know that it is.
Pfeff or Jeremy, can you go through, before you get into like, payment methods and things like that? Is there a way that one of you can go through the basic steps of registration for MYBA membership and then to add their tournament?
Jeremy, I'm going to yield to you on that one. Can you take it, or do you want me to fudge my way through?
No, I can take it. And I did provide a link in the chat that will get people to the main site through the mys.org site. So I'm going to share my screen. And what we've done too to help try to prevent confusion with the different platforms is we've embedded some of the pages directly. We've embedded some of the RegisterPlay pages directly onto the mys.org site. So when you go into mys.org to look up, the information about the MYBA and everything there, we've got those pages embedded. Try to keep it simple for you. But I'm going to share my screen, and I believe I've got the right one. So if you come to the mys.org page, hover over basketball, go down to MYBA, and go to member associations, this is where it's going to bring you. And we've got some brief information up here with the RegisterPlay site embedded here. And this shows the associations that have already completed their membership. And the ones that are in a yellow box with the MYBA logo in the upper right corner, that means that they have renewed their membership. If we scroll down here, some of the ones in the blue box without the MYBA member logo, that means they have yet to complete the membership. If you come to this page and you haven't renewed your membership and you're attached to one of the associations, you'll have a yellow button right up top here that says renew your membership or something like that effect. And then you can renew it from there. But if I scroll up to the top of this page, we do have some different tabs here that'll walk you through the process and provide some instructions. Renewing your MYBA membership. If we click on that tab, we've got a link to the video help guide along with some step-by-step instructions on how to get that done. We've also got some step-by-step as far as getting your tournament listed, so it shows up on the tournament index page. Board members, which are referred to as staff within the MYBA portal, and then a link to the complete list of help guides. And just to clarify too, so we've got the mys.org site. The MYBA portal lives in the RegisterPlay platform. And that's where you can add your teams, you can list your tournament, you can eventually sign up for other people's tournaments. If you're a staff, one of the admin, that's kind of the connection between mys.org and RegisterPlay. RegisterPlay is its own standalone website platform, but as we kind of ease into this, as I had mentioned before, we have embedded the pages here. So back to one of the questions that was in the chat, how do you connect to RegisterPlay? When you renew your membership and access the MYBA portal, you are essentially in RegisterPlay. So that's how that works, and that's kind of how that's all connected. Previously, the MYBA portal was kind of the back end of mys.org, not to add any other confusion in there, but that's how the RegisterPlay is basically serving as the backside of mys.org housing the MYBA portal, which is being run through RegisterPlay. I hope that makes sense. Once you get to this page with these different help guides, it should get you to where you need to be.
And the cool thing,
Anything to add to that, did that make sense?
So the cool thing about this is that the underpinning database is it's a universe of all users. So if some of you have daughters that play fast pitch, you're not going to need to recreate that daughter. She's going to be in the system. You send that invite to that parent if the email address is correct, and they're going to already exist. So that's kind of a nice feature, is that you can be members of, if we had a football association or hockey or any of the other sports, your daughter or son could exist in the databases for the other sports like baseball and basketball and automatically be added to teams and stuff. It's less redundant, less work. Once you, the toughest thing with this is parent onboarding, is getting them to, hey, I'm going to create an account, I'm going to get an email, and I'm going to accept, or I'm going to verify that my email actually exists. So there will be a lot of trials there, but we'll get through it. We do it every time. And year 2 is a lot better. And year 3, it's even easier. And year 4, I mean, it's awesome. So do you want me to present again?
That would be Pfeff, that, because right now we are asking the MYBA members or the staff or the board members, they're gonna take on the roster creation, everything like that. So what you're talking about would be down the road.
Okay.
Yep, and while I'm on this page, I'll just show people. So if I'm going to pretend like I'm with Andover boys right now, and just to show you, you know, so if I came to this page and I wanted to access the MYBA portal for Andover, I would come to this page, click on the link right there, and then I've got the dashboard. This is what Dan was showing earlier for the most part. You know, we'd be able to add the teams right here, clicking the button. The nice thing is too, is it prompts you to get the correct naming structure that we've got in place for the MYBA, with the association name, the gender initial, the number of the grade, and then the unique identifier. That'll put it all together for you right there. The events tab is where you can add an event. And this is the add event button is only available to current MYBA member association. So if you were attached to your association, if your user account was, and you didn't renew your membership yet, this add event button would not be available to you. This is how we're able to limit the MYBA tournament access to only MYBA member association. And when I say access, that's only the ability to add tournaments to it. Any user, anybody who even doesn't have a user account set up in RegisterPlay can view the tournament index, but only users attached to an association that have renewed their membership can add an event. And it's really slick. It just walks you right through it. You know, adding the dates and event name. On the next page is where you can add your divisions, even set up limits as far as teams per division and so on. There's also some very nice instruction on that page that will provide you know, information about accepting credit card payments and that sort of thing. While I'm here, the other
Jeremy,
yeah,
Jeremy, click on yeah, kill that. Lisa had a good question there. Click on teams. And in the upper right, you can see add a new team. So if you're creating teams for the next season, if you create, and this is Andover, I think if Andover creates teams, then they stay inside that association. If you create teams outside of the association, then you have to let us know and we can back assign them to Andover Basketball Association. but that's a good question, but that's how you handle that. If the association creates the team, they automatically are the property of the association.
I think she was asking too about how you can roll over teams to the next season.
So kill that.
Yeah.
And you can edit the teams and change what season they were for. Now, this isn't really set up for you yet. This is more of a softball baseball thing. So what we have to do is customize this to say that that's for 2023.
Yeah.
Once you start creating 2024 teams, the 2023 teams will go to a 2023 filter and tab. All those players, all those teams will be retired off to that tab, and you'll see the 2024 teams all start populating.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it just doesn't show up here because we haven't gotten to that point. If you could create a team and we could go in there and delete it, but I don't know if we need to get through that exercise. You kind of get the idea.
So stay tuned.
So did you want me to present and go through financials and some other stuff real quick? I mean, most of the rest of the stuff is super easy, but I can probably run this out real fast.
I just do it really quick. And again, just re-explain that this is back to the tournament side, your own invitational.
Okay, so here's the different types of payments that we accept. You can credit cards. Someone asked earlier, who do you go through? I'll show you. We use Stripe, and it connects directly to our state accounts. This would connect to your accounts. So here's my Stripe account, and here's payments that have been coming in for stuff. Umpires, entry fees, you name it. I'm a little different than you guys. These are tournaments that need to be descripted properly. That way, when you go in here and you at the end of the year, you want to export all your payments and give it to your tax person, you can do that. It'll create an Excel file for them. You hand it off to them. It tags it with what kind of entry fee or what kind of payment you've received, and they're super happy. I know my tax guy loves this. Under credit card, you can eliminate credit card payments. Well, look, we just want checks. If you want to, you can pass credit card fees onto the customer. So if you charge $500, it's going to tack the fee onto the customer. So it'd probably end up around like whatever 500 times 2.9 and $1 is, 2.9%. And then you can allow people to reserve a spot without payment. So that basically says that we're entering, we'll pay you later. You can use Zelle, you can use PayPal, you can use Venmo, you can use Cash App. Maybe most importantly is you enter information about where you want the check made out to and sent to.
And people can use all of these or any combination of them, correct? They can have multiple.
Yeah, for my slow pitch events, those cretins, I take it any way I can get it, any money out of them, because they'd rather pay for a softball tournament than rent usually. So you can do anything you want, and you can connect. I imagine you can connect your Venmo to checking. You can do all that stuff. I'm guessing that this is a highly check organization, check credit cards. So that's how I'd handle it. You can see the payments that you've collected with credit cards for the year. Now, we didn't do any of that because this is a dummy tournament. And you can offer discount coupons. So if you want to give a coupon to someone that says, or to any team that says early bird, and the code is early bird, genius, and you want to give a 10% discount with an expiration date of 3 months before the tournament. So I'm going to give you a tournament for $450 instead of $500 because you want to entice people to get your people in your tournament so that you can close it, do the schedule, whatever. You can do that. You can say, no, it's going to be 50 or $100 off. You can limit the total number of teams that you want to get that coupon, and you can require a minimum order value. I'm not sure why you do that, but you can do that. I'm just going to zip through these fast. Facilities. So let's say Edina's tournament got to be so big they needed more facilities. They could search on Edina, and they're going to find every facility in Edina, which there's probably, Pamela Park's a softball field. I imagine the community center would have some courts in there. So they're added to both divisions. You can click and drag these and it duplicates it. You can get a usage report. This is kind of cool. It will show you what you've got going on at each facility. So kind of handy for officials assigners if they need to know what's going on there, like give them an early look at what you've done with scheduling. Now keep in mind, no one sees any of this except for admins that you've designated and staff. We talked about that. You can also give umpire assignment. We change this to official assignment, but here's the schedule. As we created it, you can dump this to Excel. And I don't know if you'll see this or not, but maybe, can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the Excel file. This is what I do before every one of my tournaments. I give this to the official assigner. They're happy. They're like, okay, cool. It matches the schedule exactly. If you change the schedule, you'll need to update that and resend it. But you get the idea there. Let's see, facilities we covered, announcements. So this would be something where you'd want to say something like tournament t-shirts, whatever, for sale at concessions, if I could type, and save it. You go to public view and that should pop up. We can go back to announcements because those are annoying and remove it. So however you'd want to use that, 2 for 1 off on hot dogs, that all the MYBA staff will be there in minutes. No, hurtful or truthful? Okay. Schedule we've covered. Public view is basically what the public is going to see. We've covered that. You've got your event info. And actually, I didn't cover that. Here's event info. You can delete pictures, you can add them. Your flyers. So let's see. Oh, here's one for softball, I think. We'll try that. Must be a big image. It's taking a while to load. Well, let's not wait for that. But you could also just start typing something like, welcome to the Dyna, whatever, classic. You can get cute with it and add emails, videos, whatever it is that you want to add, PDFs for rules. And then anytime you do that, you just hit update the info. These are some controls to make that page pop up first. Once you get into an event, you probably want to deactivate all this stuff and have the pools and the brackets showing first, because why make parents click, 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 click with their fingers? Let's see, announcements we covered, facilities, staff, check-in. Okay, check-in. If you're doing a check-in before the tournament and people haven't paid, or they don't have enough people on their roster, or whatever it is that you guys manage, that's generally here. For softball, we have compliance stuff. I don't know if that applies for you guys, but this basically says these coaches haven't done background checks, safe sport, ACE is coaches training and concussion. It's a concussion. These are requirements of USA softball. This gets back to, remember those comments that we entered earlier, need a late start time, that's there, or their check number that they've entered and they would show as paid. Also, it's kind of handy because now you've got all of the coaches listed in one spot with their email and phone number in case there are any issues. You got a lost kid, quick call, Osseo Maple Grove, B5 Brown coach. There's their name and phone number. I'll call them and say, hey, are you guys missing a kid? And they'll say, yeah. So, okay, that's one good thing you could do there. Umpire assignment, I showed you. Schedule fee is when you're going to release your brackets. You go there, and I don't know what this is going to charge me. I've already paid for it. And it's going to charge me, it looks like, for 40 teams, $320. So none of your brackets or pools will show until you make payment. So you want to check that you are accepting the terms of agreement, which is if it's canceled, you get a refund. If some games are played and you issue, whatever, you can read that later, and you can pick the credit card that you have on record. Now, this is reaching back to, this is all done through the magic of integration and an API, if there are any people that understand this, but we could select my credit card for my state association and pay and release the schedule. Once you do that, brackets go live if you've activated them and turned them on. Anytime that you're doing any edits to anything, which happens with outdoor sports, maybe not this, but you can turn views on and off. So if you're doing any editing, you'd want to turn it off. And there's nothing going on there, so that's okay. But here you can turn that off. Or you can go to overview after you've paid and go to this little sandwich logo and hit release all schedules. And that would turn everything off. And then final standings would be, this isn't going to be that great looking. Let's go here to an event that just finished and go to final standings. After you're done with the tournament, you're going to want to, we'll pretend like this never occurred. You'd want to select the tournament that you're going to use. Now, if you have pools and brackets, you'll want to prioritize them. This is giving it a priority 1. I only have 1 division here, but if there were a pool and a bracket or different rounds, you'd want to select bracket first, pool second, hit save and calculate, and it'll predict the order of finish based on what happened. And there's that. These are editable. We could say, no, they actually finished in 9th. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, but you could. Let's go recalculate and re-release those. And then what happens when that occurs is on the public view, when you select that division, you can see the order of finish. So there's that. And then you can see the scoreboard for the weekend. This is all public view stuff again. So here are scores. Kind of has a Sports Center type mojo going there. And then if you take pictures of people, you can upload their pictures. So here's the pictures from this weekend's tournament. And you can add all those things through final standings, and you can take pictures of all the teams if you want. You just click on this and add a picture from somewhere and upload it. We're not going to do that because these guys will get confused and say, what are you doing? So that kind of is it. And as quickly as I can get through a tournament, explaining how to do it. I know that there are going to be a lot of questions. I encourage you to visit the help section, and this has help for like guardians, which would be parents, on how they create an account, how they add a child, how they join teams, coaches, what you're supposed to do, an association on some things that they're how to register for MYBA. That's useful. And these things are like 45 seconds to a minute, and they'll get you through a lot of the heavy lifting. There's a bunch of sophisticated director stuff going on here where you could say, okay, I want to do an event schedule, and it starts the video right away. And I don't know how that's going to show.
I'm the director. I'm going to make a.
You can watch that at your own leisure, but I'll, if you want, Jeremy, I'll yield to you, or I can answer questions. And
I think at this point, we'll wrap it up. I know we went a little bit over. Thanks, Dan, for showing running through that for us. One thing I want to show everybody as well. I'm going to share my screen quick, and here we go. All right, so this is the myas.org page. If you get here, go to basketball, MYBA, and click on register play brackets. I alluded to it in the chat earlier, but this has got some, 10 reasons why I use register play, list out some of the benefits. Over on the right-hand side is the register play info packet. And this is very detailed as far as, the things that, the features that it has, and page 9, I believe, or page 8 talks about the pricing, and also a little more detailed, as Dan mentioned, with Stripe and the fees there. but these are some things that are available to you. So, you know, combined, as I said before, I know we threw a lot of stuff at you here. We've got a ton of help guides available. We're always available. You know, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And like I said before too, we are encouraged that with how many associations already have been able to renew their membership, some have even got their teams in there. Plenty of them, 8, 9, 10 of them have got their tournaments listed on the index already, and some of them are even accepting or set up to accept registration. So we're very happy to see that. If you've got any questions along the way, please shoot me an email, jeremy@mybas.org. We'll continue to provide more information about RegisterPlay, and especially, you know, if we get a handful of questions about a certain topic, we'll make sure to get that posted on the website or emailed out to everybody, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
I just reiterate that we understand that this feels overwhelming with the amount of information that was provided, but please know that there's a lot of people that can help at the office at MYS via email. We can pick up the phone and have a conversation. We can have a Zoom call with some of you if you need to. Dan Pfeffer is available. Other people are available to help for you to understand the process, understand the system.
All right.
Dan, really quick, do you want to answer Tony's chat question? Oh, you got it.
Oh, no, I didn't see it.
Regarding tiebreaker criteria.
Oh, that's at the bottom of any of the pages that are public schedule or private. It should be all there. Do you want me to explain it real quick? Let me see if I can find one.
I think mainly just that, will the tournament directors be able to set their own tiebreaker criteria? For the most part, everybody uses the same, you know, across the board for basketball tournaments. But for basketball, primarily we do point differential first instead of the runs allowed like softball and baseball do. So would we be able to set that priority higher than the runs allowed?
That's a good question for RegisterPlay staff. I would imagine that is configurable.
Okay.
The other thing is the fail safe is you can always, when you're flipping from pools to brackets, you can propagate the teams to the brackets, review the brackets, keep it in turned off mode, and then you can move teams around on the bracket. So if you don't like the way it's seated, or let's say you've got a YZ team against a YZ team and you don't want that, you have the ability to manipulate those and swap teams throughout the brackets. But I think we can probably customize that to handle whatever tiebreakers you need.
Okay, I'll fire that over to you guys so you guys can see that and get it loaded in there.
Yeah, ideally each site would be able to set their own criteria, right? And it's something that we need to build, but we haven't built out yet.
Yeah, if we could set up, you know, the by default what most of them use and let them manipulate it from there if they want to.
Well, if you think about it, the other thing is this is referring to runs. This is referring to fields. Basketball is points and courts, right?
Yep.
So we need to have basketball customized so that we've got the right jargon for each sport.
Yes, and I believe that is coming very soon.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much, everybody. We will have the recording for this meeting as well as the recording from Wednesday's meeting on our website. We'll get that posted here pretty soon. It'll be on the MYBA on demand page, but once we get those posted, we'll fire those off to everybody to let them know that they're available, along with any other additional information that we get posted. Thanks again and have a good night.
Thanks, everybody.